everyone grieves differently. The sorrow, the heaviness, that's there. Grief is definitely a beast within itself, because there is no real timeline of when a person should just like not be grieving. A lot of times it can be just a continual process until a person is able to maybe redefine what their life looks like with the loss. But loss, there's so many things and areas that people experience loss and still go through the stages of grief. And that can be a person who's walking, now they're paralyzed, and now they've lost the ability to walk. And naturally that person is gonna go through a grieving state. So that's one form. Another form of loss is what we call ambiguous loss. And this is when there is really no closure in the loss. So for example, let's say your loved one was kidnapped or is missing. It would be considered ambiguous because you don't know if they're alive, you don't know if they're dead, you don't know what's going on with that person, so there's no closure. So that also is another form of loss. And then there's another form of loss that's basically something that's less tangible. So it's pretty much considered like a non-tangible loss. It can be someone who, let's say they're a believer in Christ and they lose faith. They lose faith in their beliefs. That would be considered a loss. Someone who loses hope in a particular situation, that would be considered a loss. Something that's is not very tangible, but it's still something that would allow a person to kind of go through a grieving state of mind. And so yeah, it does. Grief definitely comes in different forms. Grief is definitely sometimes a very sensitive topic. Some people, you can talk to them about it, they're open, they don't mind crying on your shoulder and venting about their loss. But then there's some people who are just like, I don't want to talk to nobody, I just want to go in my corner somewhere and not even feel my emotions. Sometimes people will just be numb, and they're not able to feel the pain of grief, but neither are they able to feel the pleasures of life, and so everyone kind of has their own process when it comes to grief. You definitely want to find a healthy way to grieve. Okay, so I want to give you 3 tips for dealing with grief. Tip 1, I would say to definitely seek support. So if naturally you're the type of person who just kind of wants to isolate and withdraw, I would encourage you to do the opposite, to find a community. There's support groups that are out there specifically for grief. If you have a friend, allowing your friends to be there for you would also be really helpful. Even if they, might not have the right words to say, because grief is hard. Grief is hard on both ends, not only for the person who's dealing with it, but for the one who wants to be there to support the other. So I would say allow your friends, to be there for you if you have them, and if not, definitely seek support through like grief groups. And so even if you don't have any friends close by or families close by, you can check out the links down below. I will provide some resources for you to help in these areas of support for grief. Now, tip number 2, I would say allowing yourself to go through the stages of grief. There's about 6 stages of grief, and I would encourage you to allow yourself to feel the emotions of grief. Allow yourself to, if you're feeling in denial, okay, that's fine. Go through that phase. If you're feeling depressed, totally okay. Go through that phase. And then you might get to a point where you're accepting of some things. Totally fine. But then you might bounce back to denial. And so even if you're bouncing back between the different stages, like, it's totally fine. Like, allow yourself to go through the process because that's just what is necessary to get to where it is that you would need to be to actually get through the grief. I don't think anyone necessarily gets over, grief, but I definitely believe that you can get through it. and it just takes time. Tip number 3, allow yourself to redefine what your life looks like after the loss. Because there's gonna be new meaning that comes from your life, and that's okay. You know, it's okay for things not to be the way that they were before, and that just definitely will require maybe some self-reflection of what life means now without, if it's a loss of a person, you know, without that person, or if it's a loss of a job, you know, what the lifestyle will look like because of that loss. And so yeah, just allowing yourself to also redefine what your life would look like, and readjusting to how you can function and just really enjoy the meaning and the purpose of your life. And so for those who are, you know, believers in Christ, that this would definitely be the best time to lean on God. I mean, He's our comforter, and He likes to be our comfort in the time of need and in the time of sorrow. And so yeah, even if you are by yourself, and if you don't have the support group, if you don't have the friend, God is there. You know, God is there. He sees and He knows exactly what it is that you're going through, and He wants to be there for you. And so I would even encourage you to allow God to be your comfort, to be your strength, and to help you through the process. And now there's also a lot of good books on grief. And so if you want it for yourself, if you want it for your loved one, or for a friend, definitely check out the links below. They would definitely make some good gifts as well for those who are having some difficult times. So yeah, like if you know somebody who's grieving and having a really difficult time, drop it in the comments. I'd love to offer some group therapy sessions and facilitating some virtual groups if you're maybe long distance from Southern California, but definitely make it accessible if you feel like that's something that you can benefit from. I know the holidays are coming up. A lot of people tend to have difficulties during the holidays, whether you've lost a loved one during the holidays, or if you're just missing them because they're not there to be with you during the holidays. I know holidays are really difficult times for most of us that have lost loved ones, and so yeah, I would love to be that voice of reason and support if you need it.